This is the world's greatest comic magazine, Fantastic Force 163. The final chapter in the IT plot. I was quite down on the preceding issue, but I am going to go pretty soft on this one. I like the cover, for example. Not so much the cover, but that they do actually include all 4 members of the team. If only the story inside managed that feat as well. Finale. Thing versus an NHL goalie in space. Our story has taken us here. And more than enough people have made fun of this villain over the years. This is Gaard. He was introduced at the end of the previous issue, but for all intents and purposes, he is a one-off villain, and I think that is how he should be judged. He was never meant to give Mr. Doom or Galactus Man a run for their money. There is, as I said last issue, the notion of uncreative people, or should I say less than creative people, coming up with Gaard. It is writer Roger Thompson and artist Rich Fulcher creating something and coming up short. And even their creation, Gaard, owes something to other creations. Our plot is dumb. For this issue anyway, it is mega dumb. We've had this quite needlessly complicated interdimensional 3-way war. 4-way war, really. And none of that was either explored or satisfying. If you wanted resolution to the 5th dimension and their involvement in this plot, you're not getting it here or ever. The 5th dimension is the most obvious example of it, but rather than actually pay off any of those story beats we have spent 3 issues setting up, we have Thing in space playing a 1v1 game of hockey. You see, Gaard protects the nexus point between the 3 worlds that the villain tried to exploit for energy. And in order to stop this from ever happening again, Thing has to get this frisbee-like device past Gaard, and that will close the aperture to the other worlds. I don't mind this. Don't get me wrong, this is dumb. This is ridiculously silly and stupid. But if I'm getting outraged, annoyed, or angry at this, a waste of emotion. People do, though. They think Gaard is the stupidest character ever. They think a hockey player in space is too much. I just can't muster that level of animosity for something so clearly lame. What bothers me more is the wasteful potential of some of our story beats. Mr. Fantastical's selling out went nowhere. There's no real consequence to this. The bad guy who bought them out doesn't really get much comeuppance. The most we got was the immortal line of dialogue, "Don't hurt me, I don't like pain." I don't like to suggest how to fix things. What authority do I really have to say my idea is better than the people who made the comic? And at the end of the day, anything I suggest is basically fan fiction. However, If you start off a run on Fantastic Force with Mr. Fantasticals selling the team's IP to a corporation, it might be fucking interesting to show how that adversely affects the team going forwards. Outside of it being part of a master villain's scheme to save his own dying world by making 3 other worlds destroy themselves. I did say that this was one of the more exciting things done with John Carter of Arse, giving him this big master plan. I stand by that. It's only a shame his writing isn't up to snuff to make him actually seem like a genius capable of envisioning this. Straight after this story, he gans back to the more basic capture someone with energy powers and try to get them to save his world mindset. The connection between John Carter, the IT guy, and Gaard is fucking dismal. We don't get any real explanation for any of that. We get some backstory for IT guy here, but none of the backstory required to make sense of the ambiguous parts of the plot line. We get an okay splash image of Human Fire and Thing A, the Thing from Earth A. The two of them are going to fight John Carter. I do want to complain about how neglected Mr. Fantasticals and Invisible Wife are in this story and in general. But I know that after this, Roger Thompson does try to make strides to improve that deficiency. It's not the time or the place for me to whine about how Thing and Human Fire are the only characters that seem to matter in Fantastic Force a lot of the time. I would say it's not until Simon Waltonson, a run notably without Thing, really. It took that long for Mr. Fantasticals and Invisible Wife to feel equal to the other two. Jason Byrne did move around a lot of major blocks to get us to that point. And yeah, even Roger Thompson back here is doing the same as well. I already said last issue, the biggest fumble of this story was not realising that Mr. Fantasticals had as much reason as the Thing to meet his Earth A counterpart, and none of that potential was even explored because it was only ever about Thing. Human Fire, he fights John Carter, and then Thing A saves him. Pretty rubbish writing. Even if this Thing isn't actually Benjamin Thing, I cannot help but feel it's still this overwhelming focus and prioritising of Thing over the other three. At this point, Thing had his own title. Well, he had his own vehicle. As far as I'm concerned, that should be reason to simmer down a bit with the Thing intensity in Fantastic Force. It should allow Human Fire more room to breathe. It should finally let Mr. and Mrs. Fantasticals have an opportunity to actually do stuff. But nah, Thing is the popular one. He is always the de facto main character. He is the one on every cover. Even when the story is about Thing leaving the team and being replaced, well, he's still on the cover as the main character. The Thing was popular. That was the reason why. I don't like Thing, if you haven't cottoned on. After Stanley Lee and Jack Quimby, he became a go-nowhere character stuck on repeat. He never evolves or grows. But now, he also never has anything bad happen to him. Because you see, he is Tom Beavort's favourite character. The Thing, he is legitimately one of the few characters in the Marvel Universe who are not worth reading. There is nothing ever done worthwhile with Thing because he has been stuck in a stagnant repetition of two familiar ideas for far longer than even I have been alive. At least space hockey is something you don't see Thing play every day. Although he did kind of play something similar in Marky Mark's run on Marvel 2 for 1. Our big conflict ends with Thing winning. He defeats Gaard. Well, how else did you think it would end? He wins the unofficial game of hockey and saves the world. And the game of hockey was never that fun to read about. There was no real hardship or struggle. Thing never faced any discovery or inner realisation. And he wasn't even privy to our disastrous reveal that Gaard is the Earth A version of Human Fire. Gaard sadly does appear again. He is in Tom Beavort's Fantastic Farce. That is how you know Gaard is a great character. Only geniuses notice genius. He got a handy book profile at some point in the 2000s. I thought I was going to go soft on this one, but it turns out I find the formulaic and unfulfilling storyline more of a pain than going with the absurdity of space hockey. There's some good bits in this arc, or at least some ambition, but it doesn't bring it all together or conclude in a pleasing enough way. It is a good example of a comic where you are better off looking at the cover and imagining your own story to go with it, or even reading a summary of the issue and imagining the comic around that. Space hockey, that could be fun. That could be fun in its goofiness and its ridiculousness, but it's not. That is a favourite pastime of mine. Singling out covers and imagining a different story to go with it. It's the best when it is comics like this. Unimpressive and a bit turgid. I will go soft on it at the end here and give it 7 thumbs up.